Key places right here. Jerusalem. Now, I don't know if you do this, I get my mind mixed up with what I mentioned and how I was preaching up in Pennsylvania, so I don't know what I've all mentioned here. I might be saying, but there is something very special about that place. And we're not going to dive into it today, but there is something very significant about that place. And I'm not saying to us as much as I am to God. There's something very special about Jerusalem. Okay, we can see it in the scriptures. The Lord loveth the gates of Zion more than all the dwellings of Jacob. What does that mean? Think about that for a minute. What does that mean? Somebody go ahead. It's not hard, but what does that mean? Jerusalem is more important than what? Yeah. Wow, I get to see now. Thank you, sweetie. Okay, the dwellings of Jacob is the rest of Israel, the 12 tribes of Israel. And the Lord loveth the gates of Zion. What are the gates of Zion? That's Jerusalem. It's synonymous with Jerusalem. Zion. There's two mountains that make up the city of Jerusalem. One is Moriah and one is Zion. They're not the same. They're separate. And they were separated by a valley back in the day that's mostly been filled in. So you would have a hard time differentiating between the two. There's just a slight swale from one to the other. We'll take a look at it. I'll show you where those are. Zion and Moriah. They're both within the walls of the old city of Jerusalem. So in the scriptures, whenever it says Zion, wow, Zion, or more recently in the last 75 years, you've heard of the Zionist movement. Well, the word is synonymous with Jerusalem. In fact, we say it more that way than we do Moriah. Zion and Jerusalem is really talking about the same thing. Psalm 132:13, for the Lord hath chosen Zion. He hath desired it for his habitation. That's interesting. There's something very, very important about that place. And I don't think he was just, well, let's just see what, I don't know, it could be anywhere. No, it couldn't be anywhere. What God's fixation with Jerusalem has a root cause. And it cannot move somewhere else. Well, I think it won't be Jerusalem anymore, it'll be whatever. No. Those that believe that the church replaced Israel better read some scripture here. Isaiah 33:20, look upon Zion, the city of our solemnities. Thine eyes shall see Jerusalem. That's a verse that shows you that Zion is Jerusalem. Where now the author here, Isaiah, says, if you're looking at Zion, you are looking at Jerusalem. You shall see Jerusalem, a quiet habitation, a tabernacle that shall not be taken down forever. The one of the not stakes shall ever be removed, neither shall any of the cords there be broken. Most of the cities, ancient cities that are of the same era as Jerusalem, are ruins. Jerusalem has never been uninhabited. Oh, and then they found it hundreds of years later. Look at there. Wow, what was this? Oh, wow. Never been uninhabited. Been conquered. Never, but other cities have been conquered. And then some of them are just, they forget about them. They walk away from them and don't see them again for hundreds of years, sometimes thousands. Not Jerusalem. All right, let's go to a world map. What you are so good at, right? This one shows essentially the foliage. It shows trees, and then where there aren't any, which is where you'd rather not live. You can see the desert area, arid desert area, and you can see where the foliage is. Jerusalem, right there. If you can find the Mediterranean, you just go to the eastern end of the Mediterranean right there. There's a lot going on there these days. So everybody sees, almost at the center of the map, that is the Middle East. That is Jerusalem. You can see the Red Sea and the Persian Gulf. Can you see those things? Do you know where they are? The Red Sea, the Persian Gulf, and on either side of Saudi Arabia. All right. I'm going to take a little bit of time with this. This is Israel. The first map on your left is a map showing population density. Not elevation, it's population density. The darker the brown, the more the people. More people live in that area. People per square mile. So you can see the Gaza Strip, okay? Palestinians living in the Gaza Strip. Here, pretty dense. Up here, Tel Aviv. Down from Tel Aviv, Jaffa. Though in the scripture, Joppa in the English, but you go to Israel and call it Jaffa. What is this here on the West Bank? Called the West Bank because it's the west bank of the Jordan River, west of the Jordan River, right here. That initially was not part of Israel. That's why it's always bordered off here in these maps, and it shouldn't be. But a map like that shows it, which many of them do, that shows still the boundary of the West Bank, are essentially maps that are not for Israel. They're not pro-Israel. Because that's been part of Israel since 1967. For a long time now. That's been part of Israel. But you still see borders there, causing folk to be concerned. Hey, what's that over there? That must not be part of Israel. Sure it is. 1967. And yet there's quite a few Arabs that live in there. You see Jerusalem right there. A city that was divided up until 1967. From 48 to 67, the city was divided east and west, like East and West Berlin. Remember that? And there were walls. The UN decided there would be a wall through the city, and I've seen where that wall literally went through a house. Right in, divided the house, because that's where the UN says it needs to go. It needs to go through that house, right there. That didn't make a lot of sense, but politics doesn't always. Much of the terrorist activity within the nation of Israel occurs in the West Bank. Much of it. Not all of it, but a lot of it is in the West Bank. And some of those areas, if you would go to Israel and you would take a tour, you could get on your bus will go through the West Bank. But there are cities, thanks to President Bill Clinton, that are set apart that you're not going to get into. Not very easily anyway. Jericho being one. That is just, that almost to give the Palestinian Arabs some autonomy, it was decided under his administration in the Camp David Accords that those cities would be fairly off limits to Jews and whatever. The Jews will go in there if they have to, if they believe that terrorist activities are brewing. Bethlehem is also Hebron. Hebron and Jericho are the two major biblical cities that you would really not get into. Bethlehem, though, because of the birthplace of Christ, you can get into a little more readily, but you will have to have, in many cases, a Palestinian guide. Your Jewish guide will have to take a respite. He'll have to get off the bus, and sometimes even a Palestinian bus driver has to get on to take that bus into Bethlehem. It doesn't have a bad feel when you get in there because you have American dollars, and they like that. So really, you feel fine in there. If If some Palestinian was to do something for example, to an American tour group, why, it would be Palestinians that would be after them because we need their money. You cut it out. If something happened to an American tour group or a Western tour group in Bethlehem, there wouldn't be any Western tour groups in that city for a while, and they would lose a lot of money. All right, so anyway, those things, everything I've named there is in the West Bank. Hebron, Bethlehem, Jericho, Jerusalem, a divided city, all of that is part of Israel today, and Israel has to manage it, police it, which is a real trial. Those would be those that were cheering whatever happened on October 7th, more than a year ago, which occurred down here in this area. All of that terrorist activity happened here, but it was cheered up here in the West Bank, inside of Israel. Kind of a shame, but there it is. All right, then you have, what's this here? Yes. More specifically called what part of Egypt? I think I know it. What is it? No, you're close though. You're not far away. Goshen would be just off the map down here, near the Nile. We'll look at those in some more maps here. That's the Sinai Peninsula. The Sinai. It's a desert land. And it is this area down in here. The border of Israel shows topography, land elevations. And Israel is very unique. It's been a crossroads between two continents for centuries, since the flood, really. Because down here is, I mean, talk at this map now. If you go this way off here, you get into Africa pretty quickly. The continent of Africa is down there. And yet, Israel is part of the continent of Asia. And if you go up and around in Turkey, you're headed for Europe. Armies who were trying to get at each other from Asia and Africa, mostly Egypt, had to cross through Israel. Like there was really not another way. And so there are many instances in the Bible where that would occur, and that was a natural pathway. In fact, there was a road there called the King's Highway back there in biblical times. And so you had Syria, you had Assyria is off further away, and you have Babylon is over here. And if they wanted to get at Egypt, and Egypt was the other powerhouse, and so they're trying to get at each other, there's Israel always standing in the middle there. Now, during the reign of King David and Solomon, that wasn't a problem. It was strong enough to stand on its own. Nobody messed with it. But just for a minute, look at, and we're going to see some other maps about this. There's some unusual features here that are very important when you study the Bible. And obviously when you look at end times events, very significant. Probably the most significant one is the Dead Sea Valley. This right here, in elevation, is the lowest place on the planet, and it's not even close. I don't know, Death Valley out west, what's the elevation? It's like 100 feet below sea level or something, 150 feet, something like that. The surface of the Dead Sea is 1,400 feet below sea level. There's not another place on the planet, except at the ocean basins, but 1,400 feet below sea level. So it is definitely a resort. Jericho, which is here, right in that area right there, was always considered to be a resort area. King Herod had a They say, they say if you go in with your clothes, just throw your clothes away. I don't know whether that's true or not, but they just said it. So, 9 times. Okay. It's, yes. Well, we got to have them. You know, I'm not going to speak for myself in trouble here. But it's so dense that when you float, you on the surface. That's why Mavis is saying, you know, if you lose your balance, you're going to have a hard time getting your feet back down again. You're so buoyant. I have a picture of my grandfather when they were back in the, I don't know, 60s, I think it was. And I don't know if it was him or somebody else, but they got a picture of somebody laying down reading a newspaper. No flotation device. Just laying on the surface of this, and half of your body is literally above the water. And reading a newspaper, just, you know, I passed on it. But anyway. Interesting fact, and I'll tell you this though. The mineral content, I think we talked about that. Did we talk about that in here? Mineral content? Okay, no, that's it. The minerals in the Dead Sea are of enormous value. Like priceless. They are beginning to mine it. It's been so expensive to try to extract those minerals that it's not something that's been going on widespread for a long time. But it is said that the wealth in the Dead Sea, it might be some of the most wealthy, the most wealthy area on the planet. You know, we think, well, let's find some oil, or let's find some natural gas, or better than that, some silver or gold or something. It's very possible that the Dead Sea holds more wealth than anywhere else on the planet. And it's not even close. It's very difficult to even see what is at the bottom. But if that's been silting in, as we understand that it has been for about 4,000 years, maybe a little bit longer, then there's likely a lot of gold down there too. Because whatever goes in doesn't come out. There's no way out. The water that flows in there doesn't flow out again. And everything stays there. So flecks of gold and other things are going to go in there and they're going to settle for 4,000 years. And that may play into some end times prophecy, by the way. But I won't pursue that one just right now. Very significant. So my wife and I are there in 2012 for the first time. And we walked down through it. And took an empty water bottle and filled it up. That's why I got it at home. I guess water was weird or something else. And put the cap on it and, you know, did our tour of Israel and stuffed that in my suitcase. I didn't think about it again. Just whatever. We got a bottle of water in our suitcase. So we're going through security on our way out. And they put your luggage. This is 12 years ago. Almost 13 years ago. Through a great big machine. All the luggage just goes through this machine. This is a massive thing. Looks like a threshing machine. And you come out the other side, and they're scanning. springs that come out of the fissures of that mountain. That is significant. If the Jordan were to dry up, Israel would practically die. And the Dead Sea would be depleted of water. It is absolutely imperative. In fact, the Yom Kippur War was, the Syrians were attempting to block the waters coming down into Israel because the Jordan River is up here. It begins up here and then flows down into the Sea of Galilee and then out the south side of the Sea of Galilee down to the Jordan River where it concludes and it's all over. I want to mention this right here, this passage through here. You can see that's an unusual feature of Israel, where that green crosses over, and it's really the only bridge from the Dead Sea Valley, the Jordan Valley, you should say, all the way out to the Mediterranean, that you don't have to significantly climb over mountains to get there. So there, again, that's where the armies would pass through. You could get there and go around the Dead Sea, the Sea of Galilee and up north, and that was a very easy passageway. Now here is Mount Carmel. Mount Carmel. This is the Jezreel Valley. There's a little tributary that flows down into the Jordan River. And this right here is the Valley of Megiddo. Valley of Megiddo. Armageddon. Now, I always thought, well, the whole battle's going to happen in there. The scriptures talks about Israel being overflowed. There's so many armies that are going to converge on Israel, they're not going to fit in that valley. But that's probably going to be the headquarters of where we're going to get the Jordan, the Valley of Megiddo. And Jesus lived overlooking that valley. That's just a fascinating thought. That's a fascinating thought. You know what's even more fascinating? I don't have a picture of it here. So there's Mount Carmel right there. That's where Elijah called down fire. And right there is Nazareth. On the south side. Got it right there. That's Nazareth. It's up high. And it's on the south side of that mound there, that hill, pretty substantial hill. And it looks out, as you look south, it looks over the Valley of Megiddo. You know that the people of Nazareth that knew him, that watched him grow up, tried to kill him? Like before the cross. Do you know that? You know that story? He went to visit his hometown, Nazareth. He went and sat down and read from the Isaiah scroll, right? And they didn't like what he said. When he said, "This day is this fulfilled in your ears," and sat down, and they said, "Wait a minute. No. He grew up here. We know him. He's not. But this is talking about the Messiah. He just read about the Messiah, and now he's claiming to be the Messiah. What in the world?" And the longer they sat there, the madder they got. Go figure. Until it got to the point where they grabbed him. I don't know what that looked like. They literally went over there, and they were probably, John went, just, "Who do you think you are?" Whatever. How did it get to that point? brought to bear on Israel will suddenly be turned on a coming Messiah, the coming Redeemer. And I don't know if they're going to fire that thing. It's not going to work. It won't matter. The Valley of Megiddo. Many, many things happen there. Things we could study. People that live there. The Shunammite woman. Shunammite. The city of Shunem is there. It's still there. In that valley. See, that's why it's important to know. When you think of her getting on a donkey and riding across the valley, you're not there. That's the valley. Don't you know what's going to happen there? Well, they live there. But something's coming that's going to happen. All right, now, this, I want to talk more about this rift. Because you can see it doesn't end here, right? You see it continues? What's this? Now, that'd be the A students that would have to get that. What is that water in there? Somebody said the Dead Sea. Okay, the Dead Sea is here. Now we're saying we go up, 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 and then down, down, down. You see how it splits here? Water flowing here is going there. But now it's going downhill back. But you can see this is, it's not hard to see. That's all part of the same rift. Okay, so what is that? No, good try. Okay, it's a part of the Red Sea. I'll show you pictures. It's called the Gulf of Aqaba. The Gulf of Aqaba. It's one of those northern fingers of the Red Sea, the eastern finger. And I want you to see that rift right there continues. What you're looking at probably 150 miles, maybe 200, but probably not. From here to there, that rift. You're looking at maybe 200 miles of rift. That rift goes 4,300 miles. This is the beginning of it. It's a tear in the Earth's crust. It's a rift. Yeah, now this is not the only place on the planet where there are rifts. They're in different places, but I gotta believe this is about the longest one. It's called the Great Rift Valley. If you wanted to look it up, study it, the Great Rift Valley. It starts here in Asia, in the Middle East, and goes almost the entire length of Africa. And here is a map meant to show you the Great Rift. Here it starts where we were. Now look at how small our 200 miles was. It goes under the Red Sea. Then it goes back on land down here at Djibouti, Somalia. Goes down here through Kenya. It links up with a secondary rift arm that comes up around Malawi and Uganda, and continues on down and exit Africa at Mozambique. And there are lakes. You know, when you rift it like that and it fills up with water, that becomes a lake. So you can see maybe Lake Tanganyika right here is part of it, and Lake Malawi is right here. Those are the two deepest lakes in Africa. There's the Suez. The Gulf of Suez is the larger of the two fingers right here. And then right here is 100 miles, 90 to 100 miles of the Suez Canal, where they dug through the sand, and we know about that, we hear about it every so often. But here is the Nile River flowing north, and the Nile Delta, so the land of Goshen, Emma's gone, is right up here. That's where Israel would have been in the 400 years of captivity. The land of Goshen was right up here. This is the Sinai, mostly desert. Not a lot happening in there. And then this is the Gulf of Aqaba. So there's Eilat, and if you come over here, the Dead Sea is going to be right over here. And from this angle, we can't see the shipping traffic there. But if we zoom in a little bit more, we just see, it look like ants. There's hundreds of ships going through there all the time. So this is what? Saudi Arabia. This is Egypt. Upper Egypt, Lower Egypt, right here. And what else did I want to look at? What's this right here? That looks like some fairly substantial elevations right there, right? That's probably where Mount Sinai is, in the Sinai Peninsula. Probably. There are those today who believe that Sinai is over on this side, not on this side. The children of Israel were coming out of here, somewhere along this Red Sea, which probably doesn't look the same way it did 1,500 years ago, but that would have opened up for them, and they would have crossed to get out of Egypt proper. They would come in here, and then traveled down here to somewhere where I believe probably Mount Sinai, and they received the law there. Then they went up to Kadesh Barnea, which is up here, and tried to enter the promised land. But for their unbelief, they didn't, and they ended up wandering in that wilderness down there for 40 years, until everybody that was 20 years old and older died. Back in this day, though, in Bible days, this was not Saudi Arabia. This area here was called Midian. Midian. Right here. So who lived there? Jethro. And Moses. How long did Moses spend there? 40 years. From the age of 40 to the age of 80, he was a financial analyst. He was a shepherd in this area right here with Jethro. Got married, had a couple of sons, and then saw the burning bush over here. Probably still burning. And that's Midian. North of Midian, up here, is Edom. Edom. Edom is, the Edomites. They were the ones who refused at the end there to allow the children of Israel to pass through their land. Even though Israel said, hey, we'll pay for anything. We'll pay for the water, we'll pay for everything. He came out in force and said, you will not go through our land. And causing Israel to have to walk all the way around the Edomites. Somebody tell me who is an Edomite in the Bible? Edomite. If they're descendants of Esau, that is correct. That's good. That's good. Give me another one. Doeg, the Edomite. Good guy? No, I'm told on David, it's all. The Edomites aren't good. There's a lot of prophecies against the Edomites. Anybody else? A significant Edomite in the Bible? Lot? Well, Lot would have predated Edom, but actually Lot's sons became Ammon and Moab. And they're even further north than that. They're up further. How about Herod the Great? He was an Edomite. In his day, they were now called Idumeans. Idumean is synonymous with the older term Edomite, Idumean. And so he really wasn't a Jew. Herod the Great So that's the Golden Heights. But that's also where some pigs ran down a hill into the Sea of Galilee. Remember the story? Doesn't it say that? Oh, when they ran down the hill into the water. That's where it is. Gennesaret. So you see all of those stories just coming back. All those stories. One fascinating thing. I have 3 minutes.
Don't go